Hey there, and welcome to the introductory glimpse and tutorial for Flight Codex, a new playground in the skies for X-Plane. The platform is designed to enhance X-Plane 12, offering users the ability to fly, create, and share unique scenarios. Imagine crafting scenarios for a complicated approach or some of history's most iconic flights. Tweak, monitor, and control every bit of the flight experience, whether it's teaching the basics, practicing that complex maneuver, or just for the thrill. To get started, go to flightcodex.com and download the installer. Once downloaded, extract the installer to X-Plane 12's install directory and run. If you have a key, you can enter it here or leave blank for the demo mode. Once installed, there will be a new directory in the resource plugins. There are two main parts to Flight Codex, the runtime and the studio. The runtime is the plugin for X-Plane. It controls the scenario execution when flying in the sim, and we'll get to that in a moment. But for now, we're going to focus on the studio, and it can be found in the plugins directory for X-Plane under Flight Codex, then Studio. The Studio is responsible for taking all the settings, nodes, and flows configured by the user and generating the scenario for use in the runtime. Let's step through the Studio interface. There are three main areas. The data section in the top left. This is for setting up things needed before scenario execution. Each main section is collapsible and has relevant information within. Under the scenario section, there is a name, description, and location of the scenario. The location is the airport code and will load the user at that airport. The next section is about the aircraft, a friendly name and a path to the ACF file for X-Plane to use. Start parameters are the fine-grained location settings such as geolocation, heading, and speed of the aircraft. The next section is definitions for objects, commands, data references, and sounds. Any definition in these sections makes sure things get loaded and are available for use by the scenario. The next area in the bottom left is the property section where all the settings for nodes, objects, data references, commands, and sounds are displayed when selected. Here you can see the settings for a data ref. The path is the X-Plane name found in a data ref text file within the plugins folder, and a user set friendly name that is also the reference to use by the scenario. The type has to be set to int, float, or double, and if it's an array or not. This information is also in that same text file. There is also an option to define a custom ref that can be set to any path name not already used by X-Plane. Commands also follow the same idea minus the setting of the type. Adding objects in a pool allows settings of initial geolocation, altitude, roll, pitch, heading, and path of the object to be loaded. Objects need to be in a format X-Plane understands, and a custom object can be created using Blender, but we'll save that for another tutorial. The sound section has the name for the scenario to reference and the path to the sound. Currently, only WAV files are supported. Filling the right side of the screen is the canvas. This is where nodes are placed and linked together, creating flows. There is also a mini-map of the nodes for ease of navigation, and its position can be set from the main menu. We currently have three main categories of nodes. The action node is a type that is only run once before moving on to the next node. This is useful for things like controlling other nodes, changing data, moving objects, checking data, and running commands. Trigger nodes continuously monitor for condition to be met before moving on to the next node, such as waiting for a command to be executed, a timer to run out, or the user to make it near a position in the world. The monitor node type acts much like a trigger, but is more overall to the scenario and will continue to check until turned off by an action node. Monitors provide a way to tell the pilot to check their speed or altitude continuously, or have a way to end the scenario. Each category of nodes have a subtype and can be changed in the properties section when a node is selected. There are many different subtypes, and each having their own unique properties. Instead of explaining each right now, let's start demonstrating by building a simple scenario. For this first scenario, let's set up a gate to fly through. Let's clear the canvas and add 3 nodes, 2 actions, and a trigger. Let's set one action as a start node. It is not strictly necessary, but will prevent orphan nodes from running. For the trigger node, let's set it as target type, and let's use the pylon we already have defined as the object to trigger on. To set up the window condition, the width of the gate is 15 meters and is 25 meters high. Let's add 20 meters to the pylon's altitude of 14.5 and go 5 meters above and below, giving a window of 10 by 15 meters to trigger on. For the last node, let's play a sound. The one already defined will work for now. Finally, let's link the nodes and generate, then test in the sim. Once X-Plane is loaded, we can run the scenario via the plugin menu Flight Codecs Load Scenario. Because we set an action and a start location, some things need to be loaded. After loading, the scenario will always start paused, and we can see the gate in front of us. Let's fly through the gate and see if the sound triggers.
Good pass.
With that working, let's add a bit more complexity by checking the flight level through the gate and informing the pilot. Let's add a conditional check if the pass is good. The plane rotation needs to be plus or minus 10 degrees, and the rise sink rate needs to be 1.5 meters per second. We will use the vertical speed and the roll data refs already defined. We'll hook up the conditional to the trigger and the sound to the true path to play when within range of both data refs. Let's check roll and vert speed independently and inform the pilot on what needs work. Copying a conditional and pasting it twice, removing vert speed from one and roll from the other, and change to out of bounds for both, flipping the condition. Linking both inputs of the new conditions to the false path of our first condition will allow us to play a sound for each path. And let's go ahead and add those sounds. It's a good time to mention that scenarios are loaded relative to the plugin path, and it's a good idea to keep assets within the scenario folder for ease of sharing. With the new sounds defined, we can now add the action nodes and hook up to the true side of the conditions. We also have to add a delay to one of the conditions so sounds don't play on top of each other if both conditions are true. After regeneration, we can test the new configuration in the sim.
Wind level. Synchronized through gate.
Getting both warnings means we were not level at all through the gate. With a few more adjustments, we can set up a short 2-pylon there and back course. That will continue to repeat until pilot lands, monitor for over-G, have a timer between the pylons with penalties, and much more. Thank you for watching the first video about flight codecs. I hope you found it informative. We are excited to continue developing the system and creating more content and features. This pylon course will be out with our next release for your enjoyment. Check out the demo, join the mailing list to stay informed about new releases, or purchase the Early Access Edition at flightcodecs.com. And thank you.